I'm just clicking on buttons. Hold on. Let's see here. Let me see. What I got to. Hey, I'm live right now. Office hours in effect. Join me. I am posting on Twitter, and then now I'm opening threads because I apparently do this all manually. I'm posting on threads, and then now I open Blue Sky, and I do this manually, and I post on Blue Sky. Let's see. And it's really not that big a deal. I'm just opening up a new browser and then pasting in my thing. But still, it's like, be nice to just do it one time instead of 4, because now I'm doing it on Mastodon as well. All right, there we go. I've done it. I've done the thing. And now I put this over here, and I I can't really full screen it because then I don't see chat. So let me see here. There we go. How's it going, y'all? So good to see you. I feel like it's been a long time since I've done this. We got in the house, of course we do. We got Clinton in the house. Clinton always here, man. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Zoe, bringing bacon. Didn't bring me any bacon. That's okay. That's all right. There's no prerequisite that you got to bring me bacon. It is in the name, but, that's okay. Good to have you here. Daniel, another return, repeat, regular. Good to have you here. Also, Rob, hey there. What is this? This template in StreamYard is not, I guess it's fine. It just looks a little businessy to me, and I don't want businessy. Prince James, what's up, Prince? Oh, sorry. I see. It's Simon, actually. Hi, Simon. Good to have you here. Charles, thank you for being here, Charles. Good to see ya. Zoe did, in fact, bring the bacon. Thank you. Pixlo, look at this. Names just pouring in. So I just finished for patrons. I did a live recording of my next Techsploder podcast episode with David Pierce from The Verge. And so I just finished that and then had like 20 minutes. And then I was in my email and I got a Substack message from Justin Robert Young, who does the politics Substack, which you should definitely subscribe to, unless you don't want to, follow politics. But I think he does a pretty good job. And in the animated GIF at the header of it, he's like sitting down for a live stream and he's like all excited. And then he pulls out this coffee mug, like, yeah, let's get this live stream going. And he sips the coffee, and I saw that and I was like, ooh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pour myself some coffee, even though I already had my coffee. I had my coffee early this morning. Like, my standard routine is wake up at 5 a.m., usually 5, sometimes 5:30 if I want some extra sleep. But like this morning, all week actually, wake up at 5, and I immediately go downstairs and go into the kitchen and I make myself my coffee. And I usually just have like one coffee. That's it for the day. But today I'm having a second. And I'm drinking it out of an Ember mug. Do you know what an Ember mug is? It's a smart mug. It does have an app that you can, set settings in, I guess. But it's actually my wife's. She's out of town for the weekend, so I'm using it. But essentially, what it does, it's a ceramic mug that has a heating element down at the bottom, so it keeps it warm. I know, I promise. I don't use the app. I never do. It's got a button on the bottom, so I hit the button. That keeps it, that heats up the heating element and keeps the coffee or whatever you want to keep warm. And yeah, well, I will say, Zoe, I'm really proud of this because um, I'm always looking for gift ideas, for my family. And so I've got these like Google Keep lists down at the very bottom of my Google Keep tower of lists and notes and stuff for each person. And then as I think of things, I just put them there. And that way, when Christmas comes around or they make a comment about something and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to put that in the thing. And then I remember, because otherwise I'll totally forget. And then it comes around, it's birthday time and I have no idea what to get them. And Stacy had mentioned many times just about how it's hard for her to keep her coffee warm enough long enough because she doesn't drink it as fast as, it starts to cool down when it's in a normal cup. And so then I heard of the Emmer mug and I put it in the list and then I found one and it's could go down as one of the best gifts she's ever received from me. She absolutely loves it. So I felt very accomplished. And I never get to use it because she's always using it, but she's out of town. So now I can. Maybe I need to get one for myself. I don't know. Zoe says, I follow Justin, talking about Justin and Robert Young, because he's great at doing podcasts. He could talk about anything. Like me. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Justin's awesome. He's great. I find myself not wanting to be super like daily connected to politics news, just because it can really consume me if I allow myself to do that. And so I have very few sources for that stuff, and Justin is one of them. So it's always nice to get a message from him. Christian, how's it going, Christian? Good to have you here. I don't know that I apologize if I'm misremembering, but I don't know that I've seen your name flash by before. So it's nice to meet you. How's it going, everybody? I don't even know. I'm trying to think of what is the last time that I did something like this. It's probably been, oh God, too long now that I think about it. Probably 6 months. Yeah, it's been a while. And then I saw a comment, I think on the goals video that I put up a couple of weeks ago that was like, hey, you should do an office hours stream. I was like, yeah, you're right. I should. I don't even know the last time I did that. And at one point it was part of my plan. It was like, I'm going to do this on a regular recurring basis. And, yeah, that just kind of falls into the bucket of everything I learned last year. Overcommitting and kind of going out of my mind with it all. I'm still looking. I'm really curious to see when the last office hours stream was. It would be May 17th. Wow. With the title, Jason Howell's Office Hours Will Shock You. And it's free. Yeah. So anyways, so it's been a while and I'm happy to do this. Happy to open up a stream and talk about whatever y'all want. Mabelica says, hi, Jason. Love all your pods. Thank you. I feel like you need Father Robert on Android Faithful. Also, bring back Android Arena, please. I'm not sure I can do the second part of that. I'm not sure that I'm going to bring back the arena. Actually, you're talking about in the show. You're talking about in the podcast. I was thinking of the Android App Arena, the show that I did at Twit, and I'm not going to do that again. It was fun, but there's just something about the hamster wheel of always needing to come up with a new app that I did that, been there, done that, and I'm kind of happy to not have to do that anymore. But I agree with you. Father Robert is awesome. He needs to come back to Android Faithful. It's been a while. And we'll have to make that happen. I saw him ever so briefly at CES, and he doesn't know it because we were in Showstoppers, or I was in Showstoppers, and I was in the middle of doing something. I can't remember if I was like recording an interview or whatever. And I looked over and I saw Father Robert he was on a mission of some sort. He was on his way to something. And so he did not see me, at least as far as I know, but I definitely saw him, but I couldn't like stop what I was doing and say hi. And so I was like, oh, well, this isn't that big a room. I'll run across, his path again. And that never happened. So anyways, but I did see him in Italy when I was there, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. JJ, what's going on? Welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah, Clinton says, I think I told you, take time to talk to humans daily so you don't become too isolated working at home. Yes, that is an important reminder. It can be kind of isolating. And actually, things are going to get a little more isolating in my life, because my wife, who normally works on the other side of the door that's on the other side of this camera that I'm talking into, she works in the gym that we had converted into her workspace. She works in the health industry. And she is now in the process of opening up an actual, like, outside of the house, like in an actual office space business, which she's done before. She owned a business in San Francisco, a successful business in San Francisco for like 7 or 8 years. And then the pandemic happened. And then she moved her business entirely into our house and into our garage. She's been very successful at that. Super, like, I'm just always amazed at how she does with her business. She's awesome at it. And now she wants to grow another business, but here in Petaluma. So she's going to be doing that in the next handful of months, which means she's not going to be in the garage anymore on a daily basis, which means that during the days I'm going to be here like this, like she's traveling right now. So I'm just here home alone with the dogs, who are not happy that they did not get to the dog park today. And so, yeah, you're right, Clinton. Talking to people, super important. I've done a ton of talking to people this week, though. So that's good. That feels good. We could talk about that. Rob says, can you do something like that with AI? It's one thing to keep up with AI news, but I would like to know what things I can do with an AI that I can use. Yeah, it's a good idea. I had played around a little bit with that idea. Like, last year was an interesting year, and I had a lot of ideas for different types of content and things I could focus on and everything. And really, by the end of the year, I realized I was exhausted at trying to do everything. And if I wanted this to work, I had to work smarter, not harder, as they say. And so certain ideas like that, at the end of the day, I only have so much time, and I can only do so many things with that time. And so while I like that idea, I do like that idea. I would love to do it. It just comes down to like time, effort, and I hate to say it, payoff on the other side of that. Because last year I did not make much money, which is fine. That's how it is when you start a business often. And I'm grateful for what I did make, but I spent a lot of last year being reactive in how I was doing things and trying to plan things, the Textploder launch. And, I launched AI Inside podcast. I launched the Textploder podcast. That kind of at some point ramped from an every week thing to kind of right now where it's at like a once a month thing. And I'm fine with it. I'm okay with that right now. But and then I stepped on the hamster wheel, or I told myself that what I needed to do, what I absolutely have to do, is I have to create at least one fully formed kind of edited video for the channel every single week. That's the only way it's going to work. And so I spent all this time doing that, and, creating some videos that I cared about more than others, and feeling the pressure of needing to kind of keep up with that rhythm and that cadence, and all of my time getting swallowed up, and also feeling like, oh shoot, I need to edit all this stuff. and I need to like do it to the kind of quality level of this person or that person. Like kind of like looking at other people that are doing what I'm doing and saying, I need to do that. I need to do that or whatever. Instead of just doing me. And in doing so, I just, by the end of last year, I was exhausted and kind of disheartened by the fact that like I really, I felt bad about the fact that I hadn't really contributed meaningfully to the bottom line of the family as far as an income was concerned. I'd started this business. I hadn't made much money. I truly believed and still believe that I can make this a career, like that I can make this work. But I think my analysis of how long it would take to get to that point was just off, just simply because I didn't know, because I'd never done that before. And by the end of last year, kind of hit a point where I was like, all right, I have to take, like, I have no choice. I have to take stock in what works for me on a personal level, what works on a business level, what people actually like and what they don't care as much about, and how I'm spending my time. And I need to focus on the things that work. And so that's when I started, Dan Ackerman, who's a, colleague once upon a time at CNET. He reached out to me. He's editor-in-chief at Micro Center. Some of you have already heard this, so I apologize. He reached out to me, and he's now editor-in-chief at Micro Center. And he's like, hey, you're a podcast, like a production professional. Want to write about those topics for Micro Center? I'm like, well, I haven't done much writing for the page, but sure. And, he said, I'll pay you this. And I was like, oh, well, that's great, because I'm not getting paid much. That's like double what I get paid right now. So, okay, I'll do that. And then reached out to the folks at Digital Trends and said, hey, would you be interested in having me freelance write for you? Like smartphone reviews and mobile devices and wearables and that sort of stuff. I did the Android XR article through them. They said yes. So that's another avenue. And so now I'm in the beginning of 2025 and I'm a lot more relaxed, I realize, because there isn't as much uncertainty. There's still plenty of uncertainty, but I know from a business perspective that the Patreons that I have right now are going to make X amount of dollars. They've stayed pretty consistent and standard, and I'm so grateful for that because it is a wonderful baseline. And it also, it's community. A lot of you are probably patrons, and I really, really appreciate that. But it also provides kind of like a blanket baseline for me. And then the effort that I put into the YouTube channel doesn't move the needle very much from an income perspective, but like this month's been great. I had that Samsung Galaxy S26 video that I did, and it did really well. It's the second most viewed video on the channel so far. And man, if I could do 4 of those videos a month, I'd actually be pretty happy with that. Like from kind of the growth of the channel, but also from kind of like the income that generates. It's not a full-time income by any stretch, but it's these layers, these multiple streams of income is kind of the terminology that I've come across for this. It's like no one thing is enough to support me, but all of them together creates a foundation, creates a base layer that's something versus the nothing the almost nothing that I kind of faced last year. So I'm feeling a little less out of my mind busy, which I guess is a long way of answering your question about like spinning up an AI thing. I would love to do that. But in order to do that, I need to streamline my process and kind of get it to a point to where I'm not still doing everything. Like in a perfect world, I get this to a point to where I'm making enough that I can afford to like pay someone to do some edits, to do some editing for me. Like in my head, I would love to be at a point to where I could just focus on the content and hand off the editing, because then I could do more. And I'm capable of doing more. Like, I know I am. But when I have to do all the other things that are associated with it, that just limits my time. And so then it's a matter of, okay, how do I spend my time? Am I going to make some money for the family if I spend my time doing that versus this and that sort of stuff? And that's, I didn't even talk about DTNS, which has started in the last couple of weeks. And oh man, I'm so grateful for that for so many reasons. It's great to work with Tom and the gang again, Tom Merritt. Like I just did it with, wrote and did the episode with Shannon Morse yesterday, and I'm doing that with Win Twit Dow. And it's fun from that perspective. It's nice because like I'm not post-producing it. I'm not the editor on that. I write the content and then we record it and then I'm done. And that's awesome. I get paid for it. And that's I'm doing 2 episodes a week and filling in as needed. And so that creates another baseline. And it keeps me connected to the goings on in technology news, which I had kind of been losing track of without it because I just didn't have a thing that kept me connected to it. And it's good for me to have that. So anyways, so yeah, so far this year, it's just, my time is spent a little differently. If I'm reviewing a piece of technology, I am not just creating a video about it, or I am not just going on Android Faithful and talking about it. I am also reaching out to Digital Trends or ZDNet or something and saying, hey, I've got this piece of technology that I want to do a review. You want me to write up a review for your site? And then if they say yes, then I've turned that thing, that piece of content that would have just been a video on my channel or a segment in Android Faithful, and I've turned it into a like making more money opportunity. And that's what I mean by working smarter, not harder. How can I duplicate the kind of the output of what I spend my time? Like the S26 video, prime example. Digital Trends actually said, we've got this idea. It usually does well. You want to write about it? And I looked at it and I was like, and for those of you who don't know, it's like why you should wait for the S26 Ultra instead of buy the S25 Ultra or something along those lines. And I looked at the idea and I was like, well, that's not a point of view I would normally take. It's just not like I'm usually very optimistic about technology. I realize, which isn't a bad thing, but it just is what it is. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, well, there's an opportunity for me to try something new, take the contrarian view and see if I can do that. Rumors are fun. So, okay. So I'll go, scan for some rumors and see what makes sense and kind of create a thesis around that and then write it for the page. And then I've written it for the page. I've done all the work. Why don't I just create a video? Cause like, that's easy. Like I've already done the work. Now I just need to like re-script it into a video format. And thankfully I'm really happy that I thought about doing that while I was at Samsung, because then I was able to record many of the pieces while I was at the event. So it gave you that kind of like sense of being there. And it wasn't just me sitting in this beautiful corner of the den. And so anyways, it was a really great bit of confirmation to me that, oh, I need to do more of that. I need to, if I have an idea, I need to find all the different ways that I can kind of like squeeze the juice out of that idea. And so that's got me excited. Whew. Okay. If I'm rambling, I apologize. I'm going to start scrolling through some of the the comments. Hey, Tay. Good to have you here, Tay. Good to see you. Zoe, yes, Father Robert is the best person to have coffee with. I so enjoyed having my conversation with him in Italy. And that was just one part. Like we hung out with Father Robert. We hung out with him on the roof of the Vatican housing, looking right out onto St. Peter's. And it was just so beautiful. Yeah, he's a wonderful human being. And he's just a really wonderful friend. And I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy to have him as a friend. JJ says, I've been eyeing the HMD Skyline because it has more legacy features compared to the Pixel. Has there been any news on HMD post Nokia? I haven't really been following HMD, to be honest. So if there is news, I have not. I've not been following it. Yeah, they fell off my radar. Adam says, congrats on your second most viewed video recently, which I found ironic since the S25 is pretty much a dud and a few people should get it. It's pretty much a dud and a few people should get it. Are you saying like less people should get it than normal? I honestly, like, I don't think it's a dud. I think it just takes a lot more to impress us now. And it's a good phone. I mean, I haven't reviewed it. I don't have it yet. I should be getting it here any day now. What I saw has me like interested in it as a phone. It's not like it's a bad phone. They made some changes that are upsetting people, taking Bluetooth away from the S Pen. Doesn't certainly turn some people off. Same time, like, I'm guessing that they probably did that because they have the data to show that most people weren't doing that. But, then it comes around to, okay, but how difficult is it to just keep it in there versus remove it entirely? I don't understand why they would do that, but I've never made a smartphone, and I've definitely never made a smartphone with a battery powered active stylus. So I don't know. But anyways, yeah, the video did great. Thank you for the congrats. I appreciate that. I'm like really happy with that video and the way it turned out. And like when I look at like how I produced that video, it really wasn't that much work. I spent so much time on the the living room streamer comparison video, which is the Apple TV 4K, the On 4K Pro, and the Google TV streamer. I spent so much time on that video, and it was one of those like quintessential, like, you just never know what videos are going to take and what aren't, because I thought that one was a good like evergreen kind of thing and everything, because I don't really have a lot, or I don't really produce with evergreen in mind. Most of the stuff that I create is often newsy, not evergreen. And I spent so much time in that, and it just did nothing. And then some of the stuff that does the best for me is the stuff that I just throw together. Actually, the top most viewed on the channel is that Udio. I fed my music into Udio, and I'm impressed video. And that video was a challenge for me because it was a challenge that I gave myself because we were leaving for Italy in 2 days. And I had this spur of the moment idea, like, well, what if I just set up an OBS, thing, and I challenged myself to record something that is so like, it didn't need an edit as much as the other stuff I was editing. And so I challenged myself because I said, because I don't have much time, I'm leaving soon, so this needs to be done by this date. And it was a quick turnaround. And, sometimes the stuff you spend less time in is the stuff that does really well. Christian says, get some Juan Bagnell in your life, Jason. Cheer up and fun. Ready-made cheer up and fun. I think I know what you're saying. No, Juan is great. I love Juan as well. Yeah, I'm actually kind of realizing like I need to kind of be sure that he's on my my future list for Techsploder, because he's awesome. Yeah, he's great. And yeah, I've had some really great conversations with him about all this stuff, about the behind the scenes, and I've talked to a lot of people about that stuff. JJ says, in other news, just onboarded full-time to his school district IT job. Congratulations. That's awesome. That sounds like an accomplishment. And I imagine if it's a full-time job, maybe you were looking, or maybe you were dissatisfied before or whatever, but sounds like you're excited, and I'm excited for you. Bangladesh Mahmood. Oh, I want to be able to pronounce your name. Mahmoud Zaman. I probably got that wrong, and I apologize, but it's so great to have you here from Bangladesh. Thank you for hopping on the live stream. Good to see you. Everyday uses of AI would be a great conversation. Yeah, trying to bring that into AI inside. Yeah, because I mean, I do use AI on a very regular basis. So yeah, I think so. I've had friends like not in the technology world say that to me. Say, you know what you need to do on your channel? You need to show people like me how I can use AI. And I totally agree. Like that's a really great focus. But again, it comes down to time. Like I just don't need to find the time. And I'm not going to force it either. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to commit myself to that and then be regretting it. But I love the idea. And who knows? Maybe one of these days I'll do that. Adam, what's up, Adam? Says, for actually using different AIs and seeing what they can all do, I recommend the YouTube show podcast AI for Humans. Yes, I've listened to that podcast. Besides Jason's show, it's my other favorite source for AI info. Well, thanks for having me in such good company. AI for Humans, yeah, I totally agree. When I listened to that show early on, I think before I launched AI Inside, I was kind of doing some research and stuff. When I listened to that show, I was like, oh, this is kind of what I have in mind. This is what I want out of a show on AI. So yeah, that's cool that you had that point of comparison, because I totally agree. It's a good show. If you considered featuring more Linux-based mobile options, shamefully no, I have not. I'm not a Linux like user. It's just it's not like I have anything against it. It's not part of my everyday, and so it falls off my radar. Hi, Bronson. Not quite Android because Google proprietary stuff, but there needs to be more than the two prominent options. Totally agree. Yeah, I guess all I can say is I agree, but I haven't really spent much time with Linux, and I don't know. Doesn't feel like my core competency, if that makes sense. But I'm interested. I'm always interested in people who have different viewpoints as far as that's concerned, or different strengths or whatever. And I'm sure it'll come up from time to time with guests and that sort of stuff. It's just not something that I have the time to like learn for myself. Not now, as you'll hear me say time and time again. Maybe someday. It's always tempting to compare yourself to people who are doing a similar thing. Yeah, so I'm about 20 minutes behind on comments. Yeah, I've learned a ton comparing myself to what people are doing. And some of it's good. Well, it's all good because perspective is good. But it's bad when I think if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing it wrong, because I don't think that's true. I think early on in the channel, I looked at people who I adore, like Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, and looked at how they do what they do, and thought, that's what I need to do. I need to spend. I don't know how long his edit sessions are, but his edits are so intricate, and you can tell he's put so much time into how he scripts things, and then recording different pieces of things in entirely different locations, and all that all requires a deep level of organization and time and travel, and and it impresses me. That's why he has 1 million plus subscribers, because he's really good at that. And I would look at things like that and I'd be like, oh, well, I need to do that. If I want to be in the mix, I need to do that too. And I think slowly over the last year, I kind of realized, and some of you were the ones to point this out, like, just do your thing. And so I've really allowed myself to be okay with not feeling like I need to over edit or play the attention grabbing game with tons of music and transitions and changes in what you're seeing every 5 seconds, to keep people's attention and stuff. I was like, you know what? That's not the game that I want to play. That's not the, I don't know. Sometimes those videos are just too much for me to want to watch. let alone, feeling like I need to like force myself into that mold. So I've allowed myself to kind of be a little bit more drifty. And what I've realized, actually, as I say this out loud, I've realized this is what I've allowed myself to do is create videos that are more podcast-like in nature, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. I've been podcasting for 20 some odd years now. And so doing this, where I'm just kind of like talking and hopefully kind of like keeping it compelling and not rambling on too much, I've had a lot of practice doing this. And I suppose you could argue whether I'm any good at it or not. That's fine. But I realize that's what I'm most comfortable with, is something like this. And so if I can get my videos for the channel to be a little more like this, then that is more like me. But they're also, it's a fine line. Like, I feel like I do need to kind of tighten and edit and throw some things in there that weren't there initially and stuff. And so I do that too, but not feeling like I have to over manicure things is really where I've gotten to over the last year. Yep. Dan Ackerman. He's awesome. He's a great guy. I'm really grateful that he reached out to me. Oh, Darnell. How's it going, Darnell? Good to have you here. It takes time to build your business. Absolutely. Everybody I talk to says, how's your business going? And I go, it's going. It's still going. I'm still doing it. One thing that's come up with me time and time again over the last year is when people ask me how my business is going, like, or they ask me what's it like to work for yourself. My response has been like, sometimes it's hard to know the difference between self-employment and unemployment because I work harder than I've ever worked and I make less money than I've ever made right now. But I believe that will change. And I truly believe that with all my heart. And so I do think that over time we'll make it happen. And my wife is a wonderful enabler of that. She's incredibly encouraging with all this. But it also poses challenges, like, in our relationship, in our home. And, one thing that we realize, to get real honest, is that, I have worked for a company for 20 some odd years, and I have made a full-time salary, and, Twit paid me really well. They did. They paid me an excellent salary. And so I worked and lived a comfortable life working for Twit. That's part of why I stayed there as long as I did. And there were times where I considered leaving because I wanted to do this, or I thought like maybe I should be doing something different. And I didn't, because I could work the amount of hours that I was working, often not even 40 hours a week, and make an excellent Bay Area wage. And it was really hard to not do that. It was hard to say no to that when I had a family and I had kids that I wanted to spend time with, and it enabled all that stuff. And so I got very used to that. And now I don't have that security. And, I do have to keep reminding myself it takes time to build this. I believe it'll happen. Hi, Tommy. Good to have you here. It's not like multiple streams of income is like a unique thing that I made up. It's something that I came across, and it really rings true for where I'm at. So, Clinton asks, have you learned yet how to let go of the need for perfection versus good enough? I think I continue to practice that. I think I'm better now than I was. For sure. That has stung me in the butt. Actually, that's part of the reason why. So I put out that goals for 2025, and one of them is to release a new Yellow Gold album. For those of you who don't know, that I'm also a musician, and I have a number of albums on Spotify right now under Yellow Gold single word. And I have all this material that is like, I'd say 90% complete. And I have had that material complete to that point for the last 2.5 years. And it's like I can't bring myself to release it because I still have in my mind the last things that I need to do to them before I feel like it's good enough. And that kind of stems from that kind of perfectionist place, which is I don't I don't want to release that right now because there's things in there that bug me that no one else would probably hear, but I do, and I'm not ready. And so, I'm still learning that. It's probably good enough. I could probably release them, and I would release the burden of having this project to still follow me along, right? Um, and there's definite value there because then that releases you to do the next thing instead of being still stuck on the previous thing. Oh, that rings so true for me. Um, but I've also spent X number of years on that material, and I want it to be to the level that I want it to be. And so, but making the commitment to do it this year and to finally release it is kind of my effort, my tactic to say, all right, it's time to get off the pot. Like, just get it out, do whatever it is you think you need to do to finalize it. But the point being, do that and then move on, and don't linger on it. And so by sometime by the end of this year, I'll have that, and I'll be really happy to move on, and then work on the next collection of stuff. Thank you, Zoe. I appreciate it. It is really fun to be working with the DTNS team again. It's fun to be challenged in a different way. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And really, when I envisioned going out independent, working with Tom and the crew in some way, shape, or form was always part of my horizon. It was always part of the thought of what, something that I would be freed up to do by being independent. So it is kind of a realization of that. And it's great. Mabelica. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a Metallica reference, but when I see it, that's what I think. So there you go. Says hire an intern from a college looking to learn and gain experience. Maybe. Yeah. Not a bad idea, at all. It's a great idea. I think the thing that holds me back is not wanting, it's silly. It's stupid. It's a total growth opportunity for me. Not wanting to be responsible for someone else's time. And I think it's probably the kind of thing that if I did it, I'd realize it's a silly thing to be hung up on. But, as with so many things in life, sometimes you got to get over that. You got to get over yourself to get over the mountain, that it is. And so I've considered hiring an intern from college for that sort of stuff. I've considered outsourcing, like out of the country, to get less expensive, but reasonable wage for the area. I've explored all ideas and options, but I haven't done any of them just because I don't know. I don't want to I'm not as interested in being a manager of someone's time, yet I recognize how important it is. And so I need to get over myself on that. Tay says it'll be fantastic in a few years when AI is able to automate some of these things that take you a lot of time now. Well, AI does do some of this stuff that I'm doing right now. And I do rely on AI for certain aspects of what I do on a regular basis. I think what I've realized is AI doesn't replace effort. It doesn't replace my effort. It's a wonderful tool to have, and I'm certain that I'm more productive with it than without it. But there's still all the, I still have, it doesn't make it so that suddenly my days are 6-hour days. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, well, I used AI and that shaved 2 hours off my day. The time just gets filled with other things. And I do wonder if the AI tools that I use didn't exist, what my time spent would be like. It would probably be kind of painful, but I think I'd probably just organize things a little differently. You know what I mean? I don't think it would be a total and complete deal breaker or game changer. I think it would just be a little different. I'd have different focuses. So, I researched without AI for 20 years for the podcasts that I did. It's just now when I'm researching, AI is another tool that I turn to. And it's not a replacement. It's just an inclusion. It's an addendum. Hey, Paolo. Good to have you here. Rob asks, did you enjoy going to the Samsung event or take a picture of the back of the screen while you saw? Okay. All right. I did take a picture. So give me a second. I didn't just take a picture. I recorded a video. So yes, Samsung was great. As I looked this up, it was wonderful to finally go. I had never been to a Samsung Unpacked, so it was awesome. It felt good to be invited. Felt good to kind of like be part of that experience, like welcomed into the fold. Like I wasn't just invited to the event. They also invited me to a content capture, as they call it, which is the morning before. If you're writing articles or recording videos or whatever, this is an opportunity to go in and capture a bunch of content in advance of the embargo so that when the embargo lifts, you're a step ahead of everybody. So it's kind of like an opportunity to get a little bit further ahead than some of the other people, which I didn't really use to my advantage very much, but it was nice to get that because it definitely made its way into, the video that I produced. I also recorded a whole bunch of vloggy content around Samsung Unpacked with the intention of laying it out on a timeline and have it be just like, here was the experience for as, kind of imperfect and disconnected as the footage might be. It would be interesting to some people to see like what it's like to do all that stuff. I still haven't put that out on a timeline though. And the further away from it I get, the less inclined I am to do it, but I think I probably just should because I have the footage. I don't even need to go into a deep edit on it. I can just kind of like lay it out on a timeline. Like here it is, vlog beginning to end. Anyone wants to see it, you can. But while I was there, I did. Let me see here. Is that not part of? Oh, it's almost like it didn't sync. It didn't sync to my photos. Huh. I wonder why it didn't sync. That's weird. Well, I'll see if I can get it going because it was actually really cool. Oh, and of course this phone is totally dead. Well, maybe if this boots up, then I can send myself the video and I'm going to let that charge for a little bit. I'll see if I can make that happen. I have the S24 Ultra, says Tay. I almost never use the stylus, full stop. Well, me too. I mean, I really don't. I mean, that's what I'm charging up right now because I think that video that I recorded is on the S24 Ultra. Fantastic phone. But yeah, I'm not a stylish guy is what I said, which is probably true too, but I'm not a stylus guy. And I try. When I review the devices with the stylus, I really try to get in the habit, but it's like not part of my habit. So it's really forcing the habit. And I know I don't use it the way other people do, people who are really committed to the stylus thing. So, so it's not a deal breaker to me on a personal level, but I know it matters to people. I know it does. Ozone Nightmare, you're the man. Thank you so much. Says, what have you found to be the most rewarding part of going independent? What balances out the hard parts of running solo? Appreciate all your work and transparency as you've made this journey. So first of all, Ozone, let me just tell you that you just allowed me to pass a milestone. Because last time I checked out my YouTube Studio account, my monthly, I'm telling you everything. I really don't care. I have no qualms about sharing like money and numbers with you guys. My monthly estimated revenue for January was 289, which is not, we can all agree, right? Like that's not a lot of money, but it is something. Again, multiple streams of income, it all adds up. And I think your $10 super chat pushes me into the $300 range, which is the first time that I've hit that. So that makes me really happy. So thank you, Ozone. I really appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. So anyways, there's a little, perhaps too much information about the business of YouTubing. But to answer your question, what have I found to be the most rewarding part of going independent? What is the most rewarding part? I think the most rewarding feeling is when I have an inkling to try something and it works. Like, I mean, I think the Samsung video is a really great example of feeling like I cracked something, like I figured something out. And you know, I've been doing a lot of content creation throughout my career, never quite like this in this capacity. And I think at the beginning of last year, I think I assumed that if I just did what I've done, that things would work out. And what I realized is it's a whole, like, yes, that's all super beneficial. And it puts me in a place of experience that a lot of people getting into this don't have, let's say. But it does draw from a different skill set that I have had to learn over time. And so I've tried a lot of things that haven't worked, and that can feel really disappointing. And so when I had the idea, you know, when Digital Trends said, "Hey, you want to write this article?" I almost immediately thought to myself, okay, I'll do that. And then I'll take that effort and I'll put it into a video. And if I do it correctly, then I can record the majority of that video while I'm at the event. That relieves the need for a ton of B-roll, because like the event is kind of the B-roll. And then, you know, thinking how to do it from a smarter perspective, and then seeing the results, seeing the video, you know, do as well as it's done. That's really rewarding, because again, like I'm trying to figure this stuff out as I go. And when it strikes, when it hits, that feels great. It feels great. And, yeah, I mean, I think the hard parts are, you know, for me, the hard parts are time management. Sometimes my brain gets too active on all the things I could do, making it hard for me to determine what what actually makes the most sense to do. And I can get a little, I can get a little fixated on that. You can't see it because it's on the other side of the camera, but I have talked about it a couple of times this week. I got a dry erase calendar board. It's a 4-month, pretty large dry erase calendar, monthly calendar thing. And it's a blank thing. So every month I just write in, or write 4 months in advance or whatever, and put all the dates in there. And that has been incredibly valuable to me. And I realize just how much that tangible in my view at all time thing is for how I work and how I prioritize, and keeping things in my attention, as opposed to feeling like I need to manage it all in a digital calendar that is only sometimes in view, but sometimes hidden inside a browser, or not even open at all until I remember to open it. And so realizing those things is invaluable. Like, who would have thought? Like, it just occurred to me a couple of weeks ago. Like, we have a dry erase calendar, a single month, in the kitchen on the wall over there. And it's my job at the beginning of every month to go into our Google Calendar and take all the most important things. We've got a whole color coding system, and I lay it out so that everyone in the family can look at the board and we don't have to look in a phone, and we can just go, oh, that trip's coming up next weekend. We got to plan for the dogs, to get care, or, whatever it is. Oh, I've got an orthodontist appointment on that date. Oh, that actually lines up with this other thing. I need to reschedule that. I get something out of that I don't get out of the digital thing. And when I finally made that connection, I was like, oh, what if I did that for my business? Like, would that help? And I mean, I've had it for like a week and a half, and it's already like, I love it. So much so that I think I talk about it on every show I do, which is ridiculous because it's a whiteboard, but it works. And realizing things like that about how I work is really awesome. Like, that's really rewarding too, because then I start to kind of understand myself better. So anyways, thank you for the opportunity to share that, Ozone. And thank you for the super chat. Let's see here. Where was I? Sorry, I lost my track of where I was. Okay, so let me get caught up here. Never use the stylus. Bluetooth, okay. Tay says, I would love to see an installing DeepSeek locally video. Yeah, I've thought about that. I mean, not DeepSeek specifically, but I've thought about like installing like some open source models on a computer and everything. And I don't know what it is about that, but I kind of hit a roadblock with it where I'm like, I'm bored. I'd rather go to a thing that already has it and use it as opposed to install it, to be honest. But I do think that I probably need to do that at some point, because it would be really beneficial for me to, have that experience. It's kind of like with Android and rooting and ROMing, stuff I don't do anymore, but I did a lot of it, and it was in the weeds stuff, but I learned a lot about how Android operates through doing it. So yeah, I'll Selchor, probably butchered that, but I love Notebook LM2. It is definitely part of my arsenal. I don't use it all the time, but when I do use it, I'm using it for a very specific reason. I'm using it to fact check. And if I've written a thing and I just want a second opinion to say, all right, if I publish this, am I like totally putting my foot in my mouth? And so I bring in kind of like the information sources into Notebook LM, whatever they may be. And then I feed it the thing that I wrote and I say, fact check this. And it doesn't just like correct it, which a lot of LLMs will do. It really does a great job of going, this part is backed up by this over here. This part sounds like you're making an assumption. You might be better served by saying this instead. It does a really good job of like being an editor. And that's how I use it. I don't use any of the podcast functionality or whatever. Honestly, like, do people use that? I know it gets talked about a lot and it's neat. But right, like, do people actually feed stuff into it and say, make me a podcast? I don't know. Maybe people do. I certainly don't. It will be interesting to see how intelligent machines on Twit will be different from AI inside. Sure. But you know what? Twit deserves to have an AI show. Jeff has told me like, about this. I've known about this for a while. And he said that, they are really, that Leo and crew are really being, what's the right word? They are really respecting the fact that both shows could potentially be similar, and that they're not looking to, to make a show that is meant to like replace AI inside or anything. I mean, who am I to say Twit don't have an AI show? Like, AI is a really flippin' big deal right now. Of course they're going to have one. I honestly, that show needed a name change years ago. It hasn't been about Google in a very long time. Google's been a part of it, but it has not been about Google the way it was when it was created. And so I totally support it. I'm not concerned. You know, people that want the AI show with Jeff and Leo are gonna watch Intelligent Machines. People that want an AI show with Jeff and I are gonna watch AI Inside. I'm not bent out of shape about it. I wish them well. My eyes are not great. Is it ILO Audio? Hi. Wow. Long time no see, Jason. Miss you on Twit. Actually, I don't watch much anymore, but I miss your presence. What DAW do you use these days? DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, for those of you who don't speak audio production parlance. Nowadays I use Ableton Live. I had been Pro Tools up until probably 2.5 years ago. And then I had been nothing but Pro Tools, maybe a little Logic, but almost exclusively Pro Tools. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm bored with Pro Tools. Everyone seems to love Ableton Live. It seems like a very different paradigm for a digital audio workstation. And so I want to learn it. So I started learning it. I had never done that before. Switching away from Pro Tools was the first time. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I wish I was using it more right now, which is definitely something I can talk about because I have some ideas there. But yeah, it's great. I love it because it's not just a DAW. It's also kind of an instrument in and of itself. The kind of the architecture of how it works and operates and all the little kind of components that you can bring in. It's just got a really wonderful set of default effects and instruments and tools. And yeah, it's fantastic. Ableton Live is pretty awesome. So that's what I'm using these days. Yeah. Peter, big time or time supporter of your work. I think maybe big time. Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways, good to have you here. Tommy D says, I use AI instead of searching YouTube videos. What tools do I need to change the PCV valve in my 2017 Chevy Colorado? I don't even know what to tell you on that one. Okay. Yeah, it's like anytime I see auto, I immediately, my eyes glaze because I'm not an auto guy. I understand what you're saying. Is that, yes, if I need to know how to do something specific, like super specific, I will open up an instance of Perplexity and I'll do a search there. Doesn't always give me the thing, but it often does. And sometimes, actually very often, if I went to Google to try and find that answer, I'd do a lot more work than I have to do if I just open up Perplexity. It does a really great job of pinging multiple different places and going, okay, here's what I found. Yeah, I mean, it's a research tool. And so it's really wonderful from that perspective. I love it. Good idea. Rob Collins. Do what Stacy did with the IoT podcast. Ask the audience to submit how they use AI. Pick an example to mention on AI Inside as a quick segment. Quick segments. Yeah. AI Inside, it's an hour-long podcast-ish, right around there. And I know that's shorter than the Twit paradigm. It's right about the time that I want that show to be. Adding anything to it, it's hard for Jeff because he's got Intelligent Machines coming right after it. And like right now, AI Inside, I think the constant kind of like challenge with AI Inside is it an interview show or is it a news show or is it both? And we've kind of landed on both. Not every episode has an interview, but when we do, we kind of keep it at a half an hour so it doesn't go on and on and on and on. We certainly don't make the entire episode the interview because we like talking about the news. And that's how we kind of continue to learn and grow in the world of AI. So I don't know. I sometimes wonder if it's a little confusing to fans of the show because you don't really know what you're going to get. Like, this is one of those weeks where there's an interview and less news. Oh, this is one of those weeks where there's tons of news and no interview. You know, like how static does a format need to be? I'm used to formats being pretty static and dependable. And yeah. Whew. I've already been talking for about an hour. Yeah, all the comments I'm reading are from a half an hour ago. Oh my goodness, you guys. Well, Tay says definitely one of your strengths is your travel vlogs. Oh, okay, nice. And then Peter also backs it up by saying I enjoy your CES travel vlog. Cool. Yeah, I'll probably turn around that Samsung thing. I think I start questioning whether, I don't know, whether it's interesting enough. But I do also remind myself, I was at not CES, I was at Google I/O last year, and I remember having a conversation with Rich DeMuro, and he said, "Remember, Jason, the people that follow you want to be here, and they don't get to be here, but you do." And so when you think like people aren't going to want to see it, like that's not actually true. People, you're there for them. Like you're like there where they would like to be, but since they can't be, show them what it's like to be there. And for whatever reason that stuck with me. I was like, okay, well that's a really great way to think about it. Because sometimes I think about it after I've recorded all the vloggy stuff. Like I did this for DroidCon. I recorded so much footage, vlog style footage from DroidCon in New York a handful of months ago with the Android Faithful crew, right? So it was all of us like hanging out and stuff. And I just gotten the Osmo Pocket 3. So I was, really, really trying to use it to get to know it and everything. And I kind of talked myself out of releasing it. And now in retrospect, like, I don't even know if I have the footage anymore, but now in retrospect, I kind of wish I had, because like people would have loved that. I mean, some people would have. People, fans of the show, would have been like, oh, this is cool behind the scenes stuff of how this trip went, And I think that was still, that happened still when I was kind of like locked into this mentality of I've got to do everything. And I decided that doing everything meant I didn't have time to do that. And I let it lag, and then it was dated and old. And then I was like, well, that's obviously not happening. And so I gave up on it. But I probably should have. Oh, what's up? Keeper of Tazbot. It is good to see you, man. Unfinished projects. So relatable. How you doing, man? It is good to see you. Says, I've had ethical concerns with most of the out-of-country options, but I totally get it. It's hard to find the right fit. Are we talking about the AI stuff? What am I missing here? Anyways, it's good to see you. Paolo is here. Lou, there we go. Wondering if you were here. Good to see you, Lou. Yeah, I agree. Way to go, Zone. Appreciate it. Okay, let me scroll through here because I do. Oh, I think I'm almost caught up. Okay. Am I? Yeah, I'm almost caught up. Good, because I think I'm kind of pushing up against against my limit. I start to feel this little scratch in my throat. Like, okay, I probably need to stop talking. Zoe says, I keep experimenting with organizational methods. Google Calendar for most things work, but I do need something else too. I have a mini whiteboard that is useful for some things. Yeah, well, I have a maxi whiteboard. I mean, the thing's huge. And it's not ideal because it's on the other side of this light. So when I'm sitting here, I can't just like look up at it. But I look at it every time I come in and out of the room. So it's helpful for that perspective. I'm actually considering moving this desk away from the wall and changing the camera setup, because I think I've mentioned this before, but this angle looks really nice in the room, but it's really uncomfortable to sit at for long periods of time because I've got the legs of the desk right in front of me and I've got very long legs. And so I'm constantly like, if you see me shuffling around, it's because like I can't fit. I have to like fit into this little corner area, and I want podcasts and videos and stuff to be really comfortable for me to just fire it up and go. And sometimes this feels uncomfortable, and so it, can be a reason why I don't do something. So I'm considering moving the desk out and then moving the camera over a little bit further in behind the desk. Right now it's like off to the corner, off the side of the corner. And that might change the camera backdrop a little bit. I mean, it will change it. But it might just make it easier for me, like more comfortable. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. We will see. Kanban, no. I've tried using organizational systems. I've tried, we actually use, for Android Faithful, we use Trello. We have a Trello kind of workspace. But like, I'm not using that the way, like Mishal Rahman, he and Ron probably do the majority of story pulling, like ideas for the show, for our news segments and stuff. And so they're putting it in there into Trello. And then my interaction with Trello is really on the day of Android Faithful. I go in there and I pull all the things out and I put them into a rundown and everything. So I'm not really using it much to coordinate or to organize. I saw a video by Becca Farsace not too long ago where she was showing off her organization system with Notion. And I got really inspired by that. And I started using that. And then I fell behind on that, which I've done a million times with all these different organizational systems. It's like, have a content calendar. Then you know what to expect. And it's just time and time again. I'd spend the time to set it up. And then I lose track of it because it's like it's not always there. It's not always in front of me. And I have to remember to go to it. And then I have to remember to go to it to update it. And, I did that thing or I moved that thing or whatever. And so then I'm not only updating that, I'm also updating my Google Calendar. And so that's multiple places. And yeah, it's just really, in some ways, I'm a very disorganized person as much as I want to be organized. And so that's why I did the whiteboard, because I was like, you know what? It's super easy for me to go up there and go DTNS and put it on a day. And then I had this, Tom was like, hey, can you do this day on DTNS? Sure. I put it up there. Then the next day he was like, actually, I just realized my schedule is different. I can actually do it. So you don't need to do it anymore. Okay. So I go up there and I go, and it's gone. And I move on with my life. Anyways. Yeah. Pomodoro method, they say is a good one to use to kind of keep yourself on track. But I don't know. I'm still searching for the thing that works for me, I guess. So far, whiteboard is working. Yeah, don't second guess. Thank you for the reminder. I need to do that. I love behind the scenes stuff. All right, I get it. I'll do it. And it's good to see you too, man. It's been a while. It's been too long. I will turn around the Samsung thing. I don't want it to get too far along, and I just don't want to have, I don't want to have to spend a ton of time on it. Like I want to turn it around and just be done and move on. But that's the story of my life. Aunt Pruitt in the house, or at least was in the house at 12:39. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Every time you share a picture on socials of you doing your modeling gig, I'm like, man, that is a handsome dude. You're a handsome dude. It's no surprise to me at all that you're getting so many modeling gigs, dude. You're doing good. Let's see here. Just donated the first Tazbot. That's good. I like it. That's rad. Frame to the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. That's cool. That's a big deal. That's awesome. I love it. Good work, sir. All right. Ant says, I want to change my studio, but it's really no way since I have to do a 2 up and 2 singles. What do you mean by 2 up? 2 up. What does that mean? Yeah. That's right. Because 2-person podcast. Well, no, but you got, I understand. Okay. I just had to think about it. So you've got your 2 single shots and then you've got your 2 shot. Got it. 2 up. I just hadn't heard 2 up before. So I wasn't sure on that one. Yeah, I agree, Rob. My desk needs to be comfortable. The background will be what it is. I mean, the problem is, so you can see there's a big old window, and actually there's a window on the other side of that too. I just have a sound panel. And so usually when I'm doing a show, I drag, here, I'll show you what I do when I set up a show. You like behind the scenes stuff. This is what I do. Hopefully I don't drop things. Okay. And then I go. Okay. And what that does, it doesn't get rid of all the window. Like you can see, there's still a little bit of window poking out there. But it does kind of eliminate the ambient light coming in. And so that allows me to control the lighting in here, right? Which actually, if this is my shot, it changed it a little bit, but not much. But if it's really sunny out there, then it really throws things off. And right now it's a very cloudy, rainy day, so it's not. So if I move my camera here, then the shot you're going to get more of is something like this, which is, it's less interesting here. So if I was like right here, that's just, I don't like the way that's framed at all. I'd have to really play around with that. Oh, if I had that light right behind me, pow! But if I go too far, then suddenly I start to go into, it's pretty far out there. I mean, this is also not as seamless of a transition as I would like for it to be, and the way that my setup is now, it doesn't need to be. Like, really, those things are just sound panels. They are sound panels, actually. And light blocker for this massive window that takes up that entire, area. And so that's why I do that. Yeah. So anyways, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play around with it though. If there's a way to move the camera over here, but still have it angled this way. The other trick, the other challenge is that, I have a 35-inch widescreen monitor right here. And when I did the independent thing and was kind of, getting all of my gear and stuff, actually, I think I got the monitor before that, but my thought was, I don't want 2 monitors. I want 1. And so I got one very large monitor, which is great, except it limits what I can do from a camera perspective. Like if I had 2 monitors, then I could have them on both sides of the camera and have the camera in the center, right? Which is what a lot of people who do this do. But because I've got this massive monitor here, it actually limits it. Yesterday I was playing around with it, and I've got it on this stand that allows me to kind of rotate it sideways. And so I had it kind of vertical, thinking like, oh, well, then I could have it over here, and then I could have the camera. And then I do have another monitor that I got from Twit, from their studio shutdown, a really nice large monitor that's just kind of like parked right now and not being used. I was like, oh, well, I could use both of those. But I mean, this 35-inch vertical is just, it's too tall. So that wouldn't work. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to play around with ideas. So anyways. That's a little BTS for you. Anytime, man. I'm always rooting for you, Ant. Yeah, behind that wall, there is more wall. The wall just keeps going and going and going. Repositioning by Zoe. Thank you for being here. Repositioning the, let's see here. Repositioning the desk to allow me to point the same direction while having more room. Yeah, that's hard with the configuration of this room and how it kind of ties into the rest of the house. It's kind of a challenging space. Um, you know, it's open to everything. And so if I did that, yeah, I don't know about that. The problem is everywhere else in the house, when you look over here, all you'd see is the back of this desk and the massive amount of ugly wires and everything. And like, I could probably be okay with that, but I'm not sure anyone else in the household would want that to be the case, would let that fly. But I honestly, I don't know. Like if I pulled the desk out, I probably have to pull it out from the wall. I don't know, a foot and a half would be my guess. If I pulled it out from the wall, that reduces the amount of space in here, but that allows me to shuffle this camera a little bit further into behind. And actually, I can get more depth of field if I do that, because I can get the camera a little bit further away. And I think I'd still, I think I'd still be able to get kind of a shot going that way. I can move this monitor out over there. Yeah, it's just the desk that I have is really designed. Like when I got it, I wasn't doing what I'm doing right now, and I love it. It's a great desk, but it's really designed for music production. That's what its purpose is. And so it's got these rack mounts in front of me that I have certain things plugged into that I never use because I'm not writing music right now. And like if I had it to do over again, or if I had like a large enough room, I'd have this desk for music production in one part of the room, and then I'd have like a kind of like a content creation desk in another part of the room. That would be a lot more surface area. And then I'd have, a good over the top camera, overhead camera, and I'd have, the kind of layout would be better fit for it. This thing is a little narrow. Like there's not as much depth as I sometimes feel like I need or want. But if I was able to sit like this and the camera was right there, oh man, that would actually be pretty awesome. Like I would be really comfortable. Yeah, I don't know. This also works too. I've been doing this for a year. It's a good shot. I actually really do like this shot. But it's just kind of uncomfortable to sit at. And so there you go. All right. I think I've hit it. I think I've hit the point. It's been almost an hour and a half. This has been a lot of fun. Y'all have asked me some really wonderful questions. Y'all have given me some super chats, which I am incredibly grateful for. And some awesome surprise guests, Alan, Ant. Good to see you all. But yeah, dual purpose panels. It's true, Ant. Oh, where is that? Oh, it was right here. Ant said dual purpose panels. Yeah, so the panels. So I got to tell you about these panels, because when I was still at Twit, there was a business that was going in. Ant, you may already know this story, but there was a business that was going in the business park, and they were doing build out, and they were done with that part of the build out, and they set out these sound panels, I think, to be hauled away to go to the dump. These were basically, and I think I have, so they were basically like, we don't want these, get rid of them. And Burke was like, Jason, I'm just saying, do you need any sound panels? And I was like, and I had an inkling, I had an idea that at some point I was going to go independent. And honestly, I expected that I was going to be in the garage, which I might actually be sometime this year. Once Stacy moves out, it still requires build out. And I don't have the money to build it out, and I'm not in a rush for that. But at some point, that's kind of the goal. And so I thought, well, I'm going to need sound panels. And these aren't just like sound panels. They're like pretty, they're not just big fabricy, blocky things. They are very nice looking, really high quality wood design on them. They're really tall. They're meant to be like screwed into the wall in like a seamless row. And so all you see is just like an entire wall of that wood design, but it's sound paneling. And so I don't know how many I have. I think I ended up, because they were just going to throw them away. So I was like, okay, well then I'll take them. Shoot. I can just stack them. And then when I need them, I have them. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I ended up with like 10 or 12 of them. And when I looked it up online, like Oralux is a sound, soundproofing company. They make products like that. I think each one of those panels, if you were to buy them from them, something like $120, like pretty expensive. And I just ended up with a stack of them. I was like, okay, I know at some point, somewhere down the line, these are going to get used. And until then, I just have to like tuck them into corners. And so that's what I did back there. I like have like 5 of them leaning up against the corner there. And then of course at the window, when I was setting all this stuff up, I was like, I need to be able to black out those windows. How can I do it? And I was looking into like these retractable, like, drop down a curtain thing or whatever, and looking into spending more money, which I didn't want to have to do. And then it occurred to me, I was like, wait a minute. These things go up to the ceiling. Like the gap between the ceiling and the top of the panel is like that. It's very small. So it's like, I bet I could just put that in front of the window as I need and just like drag them into place. And that means I don't have to spend the money. And that's what I've been doing. And, they're sound panels. So they help this room kind of dampen a little bit. Who knows? Someday I might be in the garage and those will be on the walls. I might actually at that point not have enough for the walls, but yeah. Anyways. Okay. Yeah, I know. Does look like it was meant to be. I was pretty proud of it. I was like, dang, it like really works in this room too. Like it adds a certain bit of, like if that was just a corner, it wouldn't look as interesting. It would just be like a dark corner. And instead I put a stack of panels so that they're fully vertical. They're actually being held up by the corner of this bookcase, right? Like they're not fastened into place. I just, put them in there and somehow got it so that they stayed in place. And then I ran some LED lights behind them, which is, I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on how that looks, but I wanted to kind of like give it a little depth. And so that's what I did. And you don't really see it because I'm usually in front of it anyways. But yeah, there you are. Okay. All right. I keep threatening. I'm going to do it. It is now 1 p.m. Pacific. I got a couple of hours before I have to pick up my kids. I have a few things I need to do before then. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put up on my dry erase board, pick a day, and make another one of these probably in February. And yeah, cool. Go check out DTNS. If DTNS Live is starting, you don't want to miss that. Head on over and check it out. Look them up. Yeah. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for hanging out and for asking me wonderful questions and always being so supportive of everything I do. I really, truly could not do this without you. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. And yeah, you're awesome. No, you're awesome. No, you're